He has 2 minutes.
I know. And, he gets busy on other things. Sometimes he doesn't look at his emails. I'm going to see if I can text him.
And we're live on YouTube now.
Okay.
Hi, Manny.
Good afternoon. Hope we're all doing well, best you can. Adjust this a little bit.
And Mr. Eckford has joined us. Oh, there's Mr. Councillor Lumley.
There he is. Good.
Should be in there.
Wasn't letting me in for a bit.
Okay. Got to get me one of those sets of earphones there. We should all be wearing those around the community.
These things?
Yeah.
I had them in a drawer here for a while. I hadn't used them for like a year, but they certainly have come in handy.
Yeah.
Putting all these things to use.
Yeah. So you've all got your agendas?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just pulling mine up. I always forget that I need two different screens when we're having this particular call.
Yeah, what's the day today? 14.
Lindsay, anything you want to say before we start?
Is there anything you'd like me to say?
Other than we are streaming to YouTube.
We are live on YouTube, so.
Yeah. Okay, it's 3:00 by my clock. So today I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a special council meeting of April the 14th. And I acknowledge that we're meeting today individually on the unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. And I will call the meeting to order at 3:00 and ask for approval of the agenda for April 14th. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor? Thank you. We have one report on this agenda, and that's from the Director of Finance, the Municipal Tax and Multiple and Burden Analysis. And before we start, I'd just like to really thank the Director of Finance for the amount of work and the detail that's gone into this memo. It's not a simple thing to answer a simple question. And it obviously is something that we as council must be very conscious of as well. So I'll turn that over now to the Director of Finance to present the report.
I'm
Lorraine?
sorry. She's just having some technical issues with her sound. I'm working on it. Just
All right, good. Okay. All right.
We have an amazing IT department.
Yes. Yeah. Before this meeting started, I shared an email with you all, which we can talk about later, or you can email me about if you like.
You can just bear with us for a moment. We're
Yeah.
just working on this piece.
We had a wonderful weekend. We got out, Heather and I got out kayaking and hiking and dog walking and gardening and everything. The only bit of confusion was somebody yelling at me on the trails that the trails were closed, and I had to assure them that no, they weren't, and that we weren't in a provincial park. So
How did that go over? How did they
oh
respond?
well, they just kept on going, and we kept on going, and it's one of those things. Yeah. So, but I think that's the misinformation out there. The province
closed. It wasn't clear the reason why they were closed. They were closed so as not to attract people to travel out of their home communities who were in Florida. Yes, sure.
Your audio has a problem. Me?
Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I think our sound has become a little bit garbled.
Okay.
Is that true for everybody?
Yeah.
I'm good here. I can hear here. I couldn't hear earlier in the office.
Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's try this again. Please continue.
Director of Finance, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Sorry for
Okay,
the
thank you.
delay.
Yes. Now, before you got on with the line, we did thank you for all the work you did on this report. We really appreciate the level of detail on it.
You're welcome.
So I'd like you now to present the report.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. You have all days to have technical difficulties. Today was the day. So at the April 7th meeting, Council asked me to report back with options on a reduction in the business tax multiplier and to focus on ranges between 2.5 and 2.75. So the financial plan includes several objectives, one of which has been to ensure an appropriate tax burden for Class 6, which is business, as compared to Class 1, which is residential. And so Table 1 shows the history of the Class 1 and Class 6 tax rates per thousand assessed value, as well as the corresponding tax multiple in the town since 2006. And the one factor that affects the multiple is the changes in assessments. And aside from the two increases in 2017 and 2018, the multiple has been decreasing each year. And so the changes into the assessments for 2020 resulted in a business tax multiple being reduced to 2.97, which was where we left off on the April 7th meeting. So the other factor that affects the change in the multiple is the effect of an overall tax increase and how it is distributed amongst the properties. And in order to further decrease the multiple while still generating that 4% overall tax increase, a tax shift must take place. Given the effect that relative changes in assessment can have on the multiplier, it can also be helpful to consider the tax burden, and this is the amount of taxes being paid relative to other property tax classes. And Table 2 shows the distribution of taxes by property class for 2018, 2019, and 2020. And what you can see there is that business in 2018 paid just over 30% of the taxes, and in 2020 we're now down to 28.5%. And as compared to residential, they pay the 69.36%, and that's based on the existing multiple of 2.97. And so the trend is showing it's been decreasing as well over the years. To see the effect of a change in the multiple on the average property, residential and commercial, I provided 3 tax notice samples. And Table 3 summarizes the effect of the shift on the average residential and commercial property. And again, this is an average, so the actual effect on individual properties will be different, but this gives you an idea of what an average property might see. But the ones that have higher assessments and lower will have a different change. Going to Table 4, that summarizes the effect of the distribution by property class overall and the effect of the tax burden. So if so currently the business tax multiple has that 28.5% businesses pay 28.5% of taxes, residential pays 69.36. If the multiple went down to 2.75, that would shift, and businesses would then pay about 26.9%, and residential would pay close to 71. So that's how that shift takes place. And so although it's difficult to compare, I thought it might be helpful to show some information on municipalities in the surrounding areas. And the challenge with comparing is that we have a different composition in property tax classes and services provided by each municipality. So keep that in mind, but just give you a sense of where the municipalities are at. And so all this information is being presented today in order to finalize the 2020 tax rates. So that's for your information, and I'll leave it there for your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I say, a great deal of good work and detail has gone in to help us make a decision. And I'm going to turn it over to council to discuss. I think I know where I would be comfortable with and why, but I'd like to hear from others first. Don't all speak up at once. Please demute yourself, or Councillor Ladwick.
I'll take a crack at this. Personally, I'm feeling more comfortable with 2.75. I feel that the increase to residential is, I'm not sure how else to say this. I feel it's acceptable, and I think the reduction to commercial is warranted at this time because of the financial burden that our small businesses are facing. So that's where I'm sitting right now.
Thank you. Others? Councillor D'Andrade?
I feel the same. It's hard to make a decision. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work, but you start trying to wait, and that's, I think, is the trouble. Obviously there's a lot of residents that will be hit very hard. And so at this point, I'm kind of okay. The middle approach 2.7. It gives a break to business. It doesn't give a big burden to residents. So
Thank you. That was 2.75, right?
yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kroll?
I'd really like to hear from our council representative who has a business. I can appreciate where Councillor Ladwig and Councillor Danvetti are, taking the middle ground, but looking at the figures, is on average a $319 tax reduction going to make that much of a significant business difference to your business?
Yeah, can I might suggest, Councillor Kroll, that Councillor Lumley is also our liaison to the Chamber of Commerce as opposed to representing his own business at the table here.
No, but
Representing the Chamber of Commerce.
what I meant was I would really like to hear, because Councillor Lumley does have a business and he does represent the.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with the other councillors. Of course, we're looking at like a almost $52,000 shift from business to residential. I think maybe the amount, it might not seem significant, but it might be significant for these small businesses, which there are a lot less of than there are residents in the town. So I think the shift, the matter of shifting $52,000 will be felt far less by the number of taxpayers than it would be by the number of small businesses, which is a significantly smaller portion of the public. So yeah, I like the middle. I think that was the original, or one of the original proposals. The other one might be just going a little bit too far this year. That's like basically well, I mean, yeah, you're adding over $100,000 to the shift. I think that might be biting off too much, but I'm happy with the 2.7554.
If I could refer you all to table 1 in the report on page 6 of the agenda package. And if you'll notice that at the time that consistently from 2006, the tax rate has gone down, although it's slowly, it has gone down until we reached into 2017. And there's 3 years of change there. And then now back to last year, this year would be 2.97. But if you go back to 2016, the logical next step in 2016 would have been to go a little bit lower. And I'm consistently with that, I would like to say that if we move back into that kind of matrix into 2.75 makes good logic without going overboard for it. And that's it puts back in track of coming down to a reasonable ratio for businesses, on track that was obviously being done with some consciousness by previous councils. And where it ends up being the right number, but I think 2.75 certainly for me for this year is also a right number. The amount of impact it's going to have on the average home is to me acceptable, although we have to recognize that we are putting taxes onto people who are dependent upon single sources of income, and in some cases at this point in time, no income, or they're renters and they're having trouble meeting their bills. So they're going to be the ones who are paying this additional tax. But I feel it's fair at this time to go to that percentage rate. I'm in favor of that. So if somebody was make the motion, we go to 2.75. Councillor Kroll moved. Councillor Ladwig seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Kroll? Yeah. You doing? Yeah.
Here. With respect to individuals, if they are paying rent and the landlord does transfer the rent burden directly to the tenants, they don't pay that in 1 month. So at least it gets spread over a year, whereas businesses, they have to fork out their tax bill. When it hits them, and it's again, depending on your situation, it gets extrapolated into the rent, but you can still get a fairly big hit at a point if you're the only tenant in a building.
Following up on that to the Director of Finance, in terms of the business tax, they're mandated to pay at July 2nd, the same as the rest of us, or July 1st, so July 2nd, I guess, the same as the rest of us?
That's correct.
And would they fall into the same penalty structure, the 5% and at July 2nd and a further 5% later in the September?
That's right. Yep. Same structure. So the council has or will be providing that relief instead of a 10% penalty all at once. Now it will be 5%. So there's a bit of relief there.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's also going to be some relief on the school portion of the commercial taxes as well. The province had announced that earlier. I haven't seen the legislation yet, but.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, anything further before we take a vote? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? That's at 2.75. Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. That being said, that's the business of this meeting. Is there?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask if council could consider a motion that staff be directed to prepare the 2020 financial plan bylaw and the 2020 annual tax rate bylaw for council approval.
Councillor Kroll, move that. Seconded by Councillor D'Andrade. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much. Going to inquiries. Is there anybody on the line for inquiries?
I ask at this time if anybody has an inquiry as an attendee. If you use your raise hand function, I can turn on your audio. I don't see any, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. The next regular council meeting will be held on Tuesday, April the 21st at 7 p.m. And I take now a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Or motion, Councillor Lumley, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor? Thank you. We're adjourned. And thank you again, staff, and especially Director of Finance for your work on this. It's very, very helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was
Okay.
brief.